Well, that's true.
Yeah, thank you.
3 times.
Yeah, it's like that.
All right, open up the October 16th Economic Development Commission, roll call, Toniotto, Gata, Larry,
Here.
John,
Here.
Patrice,
Here.
JP, Ethan.
Here.
I'm looking for a motion to nominate Larry as the chairman pro tem.
Make the motion. Seconded.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Larry, it's yours.
All right. Is there an approval to a motion to approve the minutes from September 18th, 2024?
I'll make the motion. I'll second it.
Okay.
Discussion.
Pardon?
Discussion.
Oh, any discussion? No? All right. Call. Yes, it is. Okay, roll call vote. Or
Whatever you want.
Okay, we can, or
All in favor also works.
all in favor say aye.
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 All right, motion approved. All right, we'll open with new business, eligible properties for TIF grants.
Yes, so as a reminder, we took forward the 3 TIF grant programs to the EDC 2 meetings ago. Facade improvement, tenant improvement, and site development. All 3 of those were recommended by the EDC to the village board, and then the village board approved all 3 programs. So we have those 3 brand new programs on the books, and it also eliminated and closed out any former grant programs. So now we are streamlined and down to these 3, and they are all very similar and they all are very specific. Whereas there were some other older ones, as Michelle had pointed out, that were not being used appropriately, didn't have funding sources, all over the place. But anyway, we're locked in facade, tenant, and site. As we discussed, you can apply for all 3 on one property, so you can layer them to get up to $75,000. So basically, now that you guys came forward and made a recommendation, the village board has approved it. Now we're curious and wanted to talk with you guys and have an open discussion about, are there any particular properties that you guys are aware of that maybe we should actually go out and try and solicit them to maybe make an improvement and incentivize them with the grant programs? Buildings in the TIF, and there's a map associated, all the TIF properties, yep, right there, to give you an idea of where the areas that we're talking about. It's everything in red, so you know, North Avenue, there's North Avenue TIF, the St. Charles corridor is the St. Charles TIF, South Villa is the Kenilworth TIF, and then the metro station area is like Vermont something TIF, but it's basically the metro station. And so those are the ones that we're actively working on. They have funding sources, and this is now for discussion. Larry, if you want to lead it from here, but that's the staff.
All right.
Overview.
So let's go ahead and open it up to discussion about eligible properties. And anyone have any comments or suggestions about that?
One thing I'd like
these
to see
districts?
more would be a focus on the signage. There's a lot of signage like on St. Charles. I know the old Globe has just a plastic temporary sign. There's a lot of temporary signs that people use that become permanent. I think if we promote them to be able to use this money to get better signage, it would overall be a little bit more aesthetically pleasing for the community.
Yeah, I was also gonna mention the Old Globe. I had just forgot what the name of it was, but yeah, I had hopped in there just to check them out and everything. And,
Yeah.
it was a while back, but that's something they had mentioned. They had questions about the signage. Because same thing, like you said, they have the plastic sign. They were looking to get maybe a hanging sign that comes out a little bit. That was a suggestion they had, like that, older styles.
Yeah.
I think it would look good. I know the difficulty is I don't think they own that spot. I think they rent, right?
They are tenants.
So that's I know that's always a difficult thing. I know that was something like Villa Perk had to kind of deal with some too, because they also rent, they don't own.
Right.
That's correct. Yep.
So I think that those areas would be great, but
Yeah,
I'm not sure who the
so
owner-
under facade improvement is signage, including ground signage and building mounted signage, and the removal of non-conforming signage. So that demo cost can help be
What
associated.
page?
It's technically your minutes, because it's
Okay,
the
okay,
program
okay.
from last time.
Okay, okay.
So it's page 5.
Okay.
And this is only in TIF districts.
That is correct. So everywhere that is surrounded by those red boxes, TIF 3, TIF 6, TIF 7, and TIF 5.
Okay.
So yeah.
Is South Ardmore in a TIF district down
So
that far?
South Ardmore, it is not. No, and so
Okay.
that's one of the things that we're getting to. It's
Okay.
only the TIF districts. That's exactly what I think Barry was
Okay.
getting at.
I just wanted to make sure that the red there,
Yes.
Since-
Ardmore is
Okay.
not. That intersection is not a TIF district.
Okay.
And one of the reasons that it's not is that there has been public and private dollars spent in that area without incentivizing. It's doing what it does without the village having to interfere and create a TIF district.
Okay.
It's naturally redeveloping.
Okay.
2 brand new buildings under construction. Property owners have already done full facade replacements. It's
Right.
doing everything that it should be doing as its own commercial node. We
Gotcha.
don't need to go in there and muck it up.
Gotcha. Okay.
You had said, Mark, Commissioner Mark, North Avenue TIF, what was the second one after that? Between North Avenue and South Villa TIF? You had identified 4 of
St.
them?
Charles.
Okay, St. Charles. I would like
And
to
then the
comment.
Metro's the last one.
Okay, yes.
TIF 6.
I would like to comment about the signage. I'm all about signs, that's for darn sure. And Villa Perk is a good example. And whether they were an owner or renter, the sign that he wanted to put up would have been fantastic. But there was a goofy or not goofy pre-existing rule, if that's the right word or code, where he wasn't allowed to have a sign coming out this way. And although another business has their sign coming out that way. So to prevent all that going forward, where one business gets to but the other doesn't, I would love comments, clarity.
Was that one
Sure.
grandfathered in?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I think Michelle can clarify the
Thank you,
best on this
Michelle.
one.
So the existing building is at the property line. The one that you're
Yes.
talking about coming out away from the building is a non-conforming sign. So
Okay,
anytime you change the structure of the sign, it would lose its non-conforming status. So
Okay.
if they're keeping the sign as is in its current formation, they can keep the sign. At any point that the structure became damaged more than 50%, they would have to remove that sign and also install a compliant sign. So the problem with Villa Perk, if they wanted to do a sign coming out away from the building, is that it extends over the right of way, and signage is not permitted to extend over the right of way.
okay, fair enough. Another comment is, because Brandon has big ideas, had big ideas, in the beginning, about requesting a mural. I don't know, I think we might have talked about that here, because we had talked about, there was that other lady who had the research study where she took different 3 different categories of Villa Park residents to find out what we wanted. Do you remember that one?
Oh, yes. Yeah,
Okay.
that's the strategic plan.
Strategic plan. So I was in one of the groups of the newer, 8 years or 10 years or newer residents, and we all said at the end we had to choose one thing out of all our discussion, and what we chose was arts and culture. How do I say? Creating murals on walls, having fountains with art, and just creating a community. In the Prairie Path area, maybe, even though I know the county runs that, where we are more, arts oriented. And the mural, he would have loved to have a mural there, but I think he's not allowed to. And I would just like clarity on that.
Yeah, so if anything can be construed as attention-getting device or advertising, it is paint on a wall is a prohibited sign. So actual art is allowed, but then if it's a dude holding a coffee cup, it's clearly an advertisement. Do you see?
Yes, but
So
I
that's
don't
the
think.
fine line, and it's
Fair enough.
paper thin.
And I think Brandon wasn't even considering that. I think he just wanted the art. His wife owns the dance studio. They're artsy.
Sure. Yeah, so that's like, he has not talked to me about that. We've talked to other property owners that were also looking at murals, and it clearly was an advertisement.
So,
Like,
so
oh my God, guys. So like that's our interpretation. But if it's
Could we-
art, is a different animal.
could we proceed with the discussion with Brandon to see if he still wanted to do art?
I mean, this is the first I'm hearing about it, so obviously I'm interested to hear what his
There's
plan is, and then we could,
There's something in the code about paint, so give me a second.
not under signage? Or
It
under
is, I
signage?
thought it was under sign.
Where is the location of that?
Villa Avenue and the Prairie Path.
So that's
Is it-
Villa Perk.
Is it on a
Oh,
brick?
Villa
Perk,
Perk,
yeah.
Yeah,
Brandon
Villa.
is the proprietor.
It's on a brick wall?
On the
Yeah.
brick wall facing the path.
And he's the tenant, a
I've-
10-year lease tenant.
Because I've done a lot of projects kind of across the country, and I've gotten pushback on painting brick just because it's a porous material. So the paint is, well, eventually, you know, if that doesn't fade, it could, you know, damage the brick as well. So it's one thing kind of to think about as well. That like, it looks good for the first 5-10 years maybe, but then if it's there longer, then and I think that's a lot of the pushback that's
Okay.
with the paint.
There is some kind of art coming along the prairie path that we were looking into
Yes.
the Indian. It's like the Native American
Yes.
pieces that are coming up,
Fabulous.
and that I think Matt is working pretty hard to get that moving as well. So
Oh, that's good to know.
yeah, so there will be along the prairie path, and that's kind of a process that a lot of, it's for the whole county is working on
Yeah.
that. So it's not just
Okay.
in one place, there will be some art
Good.
coming along.
It's a start.
Yeah, it's just art, just
And-
art for art's sake, you know, that's how we're thinking, yeah.
The other thing about signage is when I first moved here, and then also when a friend of mine first moved here, we're like this. Okay, it's not. We're trying to get away from the industrial corridor aspect of St. Charles, but the fact is, it's an industrial corridor when you cross over 83. But again, to have some kind of even a giant pot with 2 giant pots signed, like Lombard, how by the Babcock's, how they just installed the new sign.
Yeah. You're trying to create a sense of place.
Right.
Like an arch.
A sense of
and
place.
yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Entry,
and yes.
gateway, entry
Yes.
signs, yeah, all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
So that would be on us to do, the village to do,
Right.
not
TIF.
Not TIF.
Well, no, it would be TIF funded. That's how we would get our funds from it, but it's
Oh.
not the 3 programs that we're talking about right now.
Okay.
Different animal.
Is there a signage code?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright.
That should be, it's TIF eligible, I presume, because it's adding to the.
Yes,
yeah,
so-
Streetscape is-
So,
Streetscape.
yes, streetscape
Streetscape.
signage, gateway signage, wayfinding signage,
Okay.
placemaking sign, there's all different kinds of
Right.
signage when it comes to the
I
crunchy
love
planners.
all of them.
They're all TIF eligible expenses.
With
Okay.
the businesses in TIF 6 that are going to,
Yes.
next to the building that eventually I hope is going to be built,
Mm-hmm.
because that's going to be a new building and all of those commercial are more kind
Across the street?
of across the street. They're a little bit more run down, I guess you would say. So
Yeah.
that would be another place that would give an opportunity. You might want to do it before the other building gets built, but once that building gets built, I would think they would in turn want to invest in that
Yeah,
area
that's
too.
true.
So
Yeah, that's a good point. That's the train station one, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean that would of course be like a good area. I was curious whatever was going to happen with like that. I don't know if I missed something, but that area there,
No,
Um,
no,
the developer backed out or something.
the village board approved a second amendment to the RDA,
Okay.
which has some deadlines and obligations to meet. And actually, the first deadline had passed last week, and they had met that obligation.
Okay.
So now, which is proof of financing. And so the next deadline is to actually have a building permit issued and a shovel in the ground by January 6th. And so
Okay.
now that they have proof of financing, they have to close on that financing, get the building permit squared up, get their contractors, get ready to roll, and then activity happen by this January 6th.
Okay. Nice. Well, that's better news than what I thought.
Better news for all of us.
yeah, definitely.
Does
Great.
anybody have a suggestion about an efficient way to, I guess, go around the TIF areas and take a look with our eyeballs? Because off the top of my head, I can't think of anything that needs the improvement, or the facade improvement. Do you have any ideas about
I feel like TIF 6 across the way from TIF 6
Mm-hmm.
is, some of it is not nice.
Right, right.
Yeah, I mean, across the way from where the garden station is.
Yes, yeah. On the
And I don't know
west
what our
side of
plans
block.
are for
Yep.
that, but it's not nice. Could
Yeah.
use,
Yeah.
could use a facelift.
Right.
Those
And-
folks are all tenants, right? That, I mean, all the people who are the
Except
businesses there.
except the south.
The
The liquor
convenience
store,
store?
the Stop and
Oh,
Shop, I
okay.
believe is owner occupied.
So owner-
But the rest are tenants, and there's actually 2 vacant structures in the middle of the block as well. But we're just talking about a 1 block, so that could be a targeted block, which is
Okay.
what we're looking for right now.
Great.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, targeted block, great. An individual property also works, but that makes a lot of sense.
Oh,
to
it
just
does.
from
It makes sense if this
Terrace
is
to
happening to
Vermont.
have that happen at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's where you can kind of cash in.
yeah. And I think your point is valid. Do it now before people realize that
Right.
things are happening across the street, so maybe they'll get a better
Yeah.
bang for their buck.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, we'll make that note.
With the North Avenue district, I feel like that's similar to the South Ardmore area, where it's almost like naturally, because it's such a popular street and everything like that, where
Yeah.
things kind of just develop and come and go.
It's
Where-
new though, it wasn't great before. It's
Yeah,
doing
yeah,
really
a
lot
well
of new
now.
stuff comes
It was a
in.
real mess.
Right, right,
It
right.
was. It is finally,
Yeah.
as Deepa's pointing out, finally has taken off. It was not the case 2 years ago.
Right,
So,
right.
um, yeah, so now there's finally
We
some,
changed some things.
Yeah. So we finally,
We changed some things. I'll
There you
just
go.
leave it at that.
so we have some funding. So now we actually have funds in that account to target. And this one, it could be more than just a facade. We can do a full site facade and tenant build out. And like, hey, here's a completely rundown property. Let's go talk to that property owner and say,
Right.
expand your broker listing and say now there's funding available. That's another way we can approach this too. If you can think of a particular property that you're like, man,
There's like there was a car dealer. I don't know. It was just east of the Crazy Pour. Like
Yeah.
two
just east.
that's like 2
Oh, yeah.
properties over.
Vendor place.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
been vacant for some time.
Yeah, so here's the thing. I don't think it's vacant.
Okay.
I just think it's completely underutilized.
Okay.
There's no activity, but they do have a web presence.
Oh, did they really?
Yes.
Okay.
And each vehicle is like north of $50,000. So like, how many $50,000 transactions do you need to do if you own the property and you own the business to stay afloat?
Oh, okay. So it's
So I think it's a dollars and cents thing. If he sells 1 vehicle every quarter,
Mhm.
he's, you know what I mean? It sounds awesome.
Yeah.
It's one of those. It's very peculiar, but
Okay.
it's an active.
It is. An
It is. It
Okay.
just doesn't look like it.
Just-
But that doesn't mean that the property isn't.
oh, I couldn't. It's if you did a Google.
It's a
they
dream
would-
car.
Dream car.
Yeah.
No, it's
Yeah,
called.
Jason rents the property and also the empty lot right next door, he is renting.
Okay.
That's all one.
Yeah, it's one. It's one owner. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Jason,
Yeah. So like,
colorful.
yeah, there. That's a good one though. Hey,
Right.
would you like to
Yeah.
beautify?
Mm-hmm.
Totally fine.
There's that way over here one, like strip mall.
Yeah.
And it's a bit of a dump.
By
Way at the end
Maya
of the
Chicken and all of that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I always forget that that's Villa Park.
Yeah,
It is.
it's
So
hard.
that
to,
is the end.
Oh, that.
Yeah.
That
That
is the
street
end.
is our end.
Yeah, but
Um,
that end strip mall could use some
Yeah.
updating.
Now, I was gonna also say Dollar Tree, like that area. It's I don't know if they. It looks like they recently.
The old Portillo's.
Yeah,
Yep.
Portillo's, all that.
Mm-hmm.
So I live right behind there, so I
Mhm.
walk, up and down there all the time, and it could definitely use some help too.
Yeah. So the last one, which is Kings Point,
Yeah.
definitely would qualify for a facade,
Okay.
but site improvement it wouldn't. It's actually a fairly well parked. It's actually striped. You got 2 lanes of traffic. There's landscaping. I don't know that it would qualify for site, but facade. And then obviously any of the tenant build outs if people are rebuilding out for a new restaurant or any of the what do we do? bar, brewery, restaurant is the
Or
chart.
entertainment.
Or entertainment, those all are
Cultural.
high quality. We're willing to pay for those new things.
Mhm.
So yeah, that could absolutely be one.
Can you explain that one again? Like I know you.
So
yeah.
eligibility. You want to talk about eligibility?
Yeah, let me pull it up. I don't have it in front of me. So the goal was to
Facade or tenant.
the goal was to try and incentivize uses that we want to come into the village. So things types of businesses that would qualify. So restaurants, breweries, bars, all with indoor dining rooms. Retail, so that is expansive. Boutiques, apparel, jewelry, grocery, could be cannabis. Specialty shops, hardware stores. Creative arts and entertainment uses, so performing arts, clubs, movie theaters, paint and sip, ceramic, anything
Okay,
like that. Auto dealerships, which is TIF 3 only, and then hotels. So also associated with that eligible list, there's ineligible lists, business types too. So restaurants that are only delivery or carry out or drive through, so no eat in component. Service uses, so beauty salons, spas, massage parlors, daycares, martial arts, gyms or yoga studios. Automotive bodywork, paint repair, or fueling stations. Design showrooms, professional and medical offices, banks and financial institutions, funeral homes, and anything with tobacco or alternative tobacco sales.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
And so they're eligible just for like normal.
Facade, they would be eligible.
So
Perfect.
This is the tenant build out.
This is the
Yeah,
tenant,
tenant
so
build
this is
out.
the interior build out of a new,
Interior.
Yeah,
new tenant coming in. So this is up to $25,000.
Page 11.
It's a 50-50 match. You have to spend at least 10,000, so you'd get 5.
Okay.
And anything to get the full 25, you'd have to spend 50. Anything greater than 50, we're still only reimbursing that 25,000.
Okay.
So the idea, restaurants, breweries, and bars. If you're going to do a full commercial kitchen build out,
That's expensive.
Yeah.
and you're going
Here's
to bring
25,000.
people to the village because it's a new idea, a new restaurant, you're going to take one of those 2 empty spaces at Kings Point and make a new tandoori or whatever that's hot to trot right now. Mediterranean is who we're talking with right now, so like new
Yeah,
Mediterranean
that would be
restaurant.
great. Yeah,
Oh,
we need
I love it.
Mediterranean.
Yeah, so
around
that
here.
those are the
We
And
do.
Thai.
so here's great.
Thai and
Hell.
Mediterranean.
From
Okay.
the trustee's mouth to our facade or our tenant build out program, we are willing to help you build out some of those things because we know they're expensive, but it also brings people here to spend the dollars.
Perfect. Okay.
Economic development.
So in addition
Gotcha.
to the tenant build out, then if you wanted to do a facade improvement too, you can start
Awesome.
stacking.
Gotcha.
So
Oh.
if you're doing the tenant build out, you can also do a facade. There's certain, that one only covers architectural elements of
right.
the exterior of the building. Not in this case where we said, it's okay, as is, has their landscaping and everything else, but in addition to the tenant build out and the facade build out, then the site improvements starts getting into improving ADA accessibility, landscape screening,
Oh, okay.
things like that, parking lot improvements, trash enclosures that may not exist today. So, but you can stack all 3 and get $75,000.
So for the tenant one, so for those tenants, like the money that they're investing into their business, basically,
Mhm.
that's what could be matched. It doesn't have to go to a specific.
Correct.
There's not like specifics of what it has to go into. Okay. Gotcha.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sweet.
it's your tenant remodel.
That's good.
2 buildings I was thinking of is the the old Thai food building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the Italian restaurant that was just west of that, across from Lunar, that's been vacant next to
Oh.
the
Is that one with the law?
pawn
Yeah.
shop.
Gonna be-
So that got acquired,
Okay.
and it will be a attorney's office.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's better suited for attorney's office actually.
Yeah. So
Because as
yeah.
a restaurant, it just was.
And that
So-
restaurant was a disaster
It
10
was.
times around.
yeah.
Yeah.
It
So
wasn't enough work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
on the
It
attorney's
was
office.
really
Thai
good at
food.
one point.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I
So
heard.
yeah. So we are reviewing a building permit right now for interior remodel and site improvements for the old Thai food.
Oh, really?
What
Yeah.
kind of business?
Another Asian.
Yeah, Asian cuisine.
That's the old Chinese
food.
restaurant,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Just a
Well, it's such
question.
an interesting building, it would be
It is.
nice to see it kind of stay
Yeah,
that way.
pretty cool.
I haven't seen exterior elevations on it, just
I
interior
don't
floor
think they're doing
plans
a
and
ton
site.
exterior, even site stuff. They're doing a new trash enclosure, a new parking lot layout, but not really much
Yeah.
else.
So, yeah.
Interior though is
Mhm.
changing.
Yeah.
The bridal
that'd be
shop
good.
on Monterey and St. Charles, is that remaining the bridal shop? They're just rehabbing?
No.
No. Not even close.
Thank God.
So
I
that
don't know why they
is
haven't taken their sign down yet.
Yeah.
Thank God.
It's very
Do
deceiving.
we know what it's gonna be?
It's a
just a
plumbing
rental,
Mm-mm.
No.
a rental
What is
hall
it?
for small events.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
Small
Yes.
event space
Where
rental.
where was it?
Oh,
Tiny
On my
banquet.
block.
Tiny
Uh,
banquet.
like
Not actual
bridal
banquet.
shower,
It's on-
baby shower.
Yeah.
It's right across from.
Is it the
bridal?
same person
Yeah.
who wanted to
I'm
do
on-
that on
okay,
the other
okay.
side?
I-
No.
No,
Oh,
this is
the
a new
bridal.
person who wants to do the same.
Yeah.
Remember we
They
like
left the-
approved something parking wise at one point?
Yes.
With the, like a tiny, this was a while back.
That was up on Addison Road.
Yeah, that's on Addison.
Oh, yeah, not this. Nope, not her.
No.
Nope.
Oh,
Nope.
nice.
Yep,
I
that,
know.
yep. Nope. So she acquired it, did a build out, new water line,
Oh,
new
wow.
sprinkler, all the things that were required, and right now she's just applied for her liquor license and would like to be open basically January 1.
Oh, nice.
Would we expect patrons' cars to be parked on Monterey?
Well, we just made them
It's
redo the
okay.
parking lot and increase 10 stalls that weren't there before, so I hope not.
Okay, but
It's-
they could.
it's-
Well, it's a public street,
yeah.
so you can park where you can publicly legally park.
Yep. And then, could you be kind enough, the auto that's not allowed for tenant build out, does that include motorcycle?
All motor
yeah.
vehicle
Thank you.
service,
Mhm.
etc.
And then auto dealerships, but only in TIF 3.
Okay.
Right.
How about those gaming centers? Are those aren't a part of like the
Well,
They
so
would be, right? 'Cause-
so that's
Oh,
the
that's
thing. Gaming center isn't a definition.
right?
Oh.
So
There seems
it's
like-
restaurants, breweries, and bars.
Right.
Oh.
If they
They have
choose to
to.
apply for a gaming license with the state, is up to them.
Okay.
But restaurants, breweries, and bars are qualified.
That's why it's always like cafes or whatever, right?
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of how.
Yeah,
so
that's,
like
that's how they,
how
that's a
sneak
marketing
it in. Yeah.
thing. That's a
Ah.
branding
Okay.
thing.
Again,
We don't issue that.
I got
It's a
you.
state thing.
Yeah, again, this is for like those that have indoor dining rooms, so like
Mhm.
it has to
It has to
have
be
like
something.
tables and chairs for people to dine at.
Mhm. Not sit and waste their money.
Yeah, right.
That's your choice
Yeah.
if you'd like to do that, but
Yeah.
it needs to be a restaurant
Uh-huh,
or
uh-huh.
brewery bar.
Yep.
And are most businesses aware of the TIF?
Oh, I think most businesses are aware that we have multiple TIFs. Yes,
Okay,
yes.
great.
Especially the ones on St. Charles Corridor, because they just got blasted with all the notifications and all the meetings, and I
Very
talked to
good.
all of them.
Very
So,
good, very good.
yes, absolutely.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. Part of the game.
Yeah. Is there pushback? I mean, probably the hard part again is like dealing with it's tenants versus like the owners of the actual building.
So it was mostly education with
Yes.
the approval of TIF 7. There was
Okay.
a ton of
Okay.
misinformation just
Mhm.
floating all around, and so once we started actually putting out the correct information, everyone's like, "Oh,
Great.
so you're telling me that there's the ability to have free money?" Yes.
Right.
Oh,
This is
my
an
property taxes
This
aren't
is an
increasing.
incentive program.
Yes,
Essentially,
yes.
we are
Mhm.
incentivizing you
Yes.
to make improvements.
That's right. I think you had mentioned like people thought it was like their taxes are
Yes.
increasing.
They
or something.
did.
That's correct.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
The misinformation. Once we squashed all that, then
Great.
Yep.
Cool.
Okay, so I've got Saifu, I've got the attorney, which may or may not qualify because it's an attorney office, so that's one of the ineligible, but
Yeah.
you still have facade and site. That's
Right.
just your build out, right?
Right,
So there's,
right.
but if it was a restaurant, it would have, but because
Yes.
they changed the use,
Mhm.
it's not creating that activity that we're looking for,
Right.
especially on the St. Charles Corridor. We're
Yeah.
looking for activity. We're looking for people and pedestrians,
Mhm.
and dare I say, a nightlife, like
Right.
actual.
Right.
Oh, say it. Don't dare say it. Say it.
Looking for it.
Well, I mean, you would want to slow down St. Charles though if you want to bring.
Also correct. That is part of the
Which
plan.
is-
It's actually part of the plan.
Yeah.
The
And
streetscape.
so it's the old chicken and the egg.
Yep.
Right.
It's $10 million.
Mhm.
I can get there. I just need time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I need things to happen before I've got the 10 million so I can pull the trigger. So this is what's coming. Please start now before it gets really expensive.
Right.
So yes.
And what is the speed gonna be?
I don't know. We have to do this.
Okay.
Right.
And have you decided on the side of those carriage sidewalks you shared about?
That's one of the things that we would lean to, but nothing has been decided.
Okay.
We have to do the actual engineering studies. Yeah. It's just road diet, and then what?
We need money in the TIF.
Yeah.
It's, until we get money in the TIF,
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
like, it's wonderful deciding all that.
Yeah.
When you don't have anything
Yeah.
to give anybody, you don't really.
Right.
Exactly.
It's just starting, right? The TIF just started.
just
so
started
it's at
this year.
0.
So the idea is do all the planning and engineering documents for the years leading up to when we'll have the chunk of dollars. So we don't have to wait for them to start the engineering and the planning documents. It's having it shovel ready. You guys have heard of that phrase, right? Shovel ready. So then
Yeah.
we can even go out for grant funding to help offset and then let's go.
What if it was like let's say like the strip mall next to, in between Typhoon and the McDonald's? If you have multiple tenants, you have a tattoo parlor, you have a Mexican restaurant. If the owner of that wanted to apply for this, as long as it has one restaurant that's sitting down, would it cover
So
all
you're
of it?
confusing facade and tenant build out.
Okay, right.
Tenant build out is
So I
the
wouldn't-
different uses
gotcha.
inside it. Facade is what everybody can see.
Architectural.
Yeah.
And that everybody's eligible for anyway.
Okay.
But the tenant's not gonna be able to like do like major remodel,
So
right?
they
'Cause of-
can, so there has to be owner approval
Oh,
or
Right,
owner
right.
support.
Yeah.
That's part of the application.
Right.
But yes,
Oh,
if
that's
the
good.
owner signs off, me as owning ABC restaurant, I can go in with my landlord's approval and do a full remodel of the interior of a tenant space, build it out as a restaurant, and then I would receive the grant funding. Just the landlord has to be understanding that, these improvements that the village is helping pay for
Yeah.
have to remain for a certain period of time at least. We're not gonna
Sure.
just allow you to tear it out after 6 months or whatever, especially when it comes to the facade and the site improvements. As far as the site improvements or the facade improvements, me as a tenant could still apply for a facade improvement. I still need my landlord's approval,
Oh, okay.
but I could try and improve even as my own single tenant space within a multi-tenant center could do a window storefront replacement or, some additional architectural improvements to that facade.
That's good to know. I didn't realize the tenant could apply for it, and as long as they have,
Yes.
like you said, the
Yep. It's
approval.
authorization. Yep.
That's good.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then
That'd be
it's,
good.
it's beneficial for the owner, right? It's just increasing their property values. I
Right.
don't
Yeah,
think they
It's-
would say no if you're paying for the other part of it and your property value is going up. It seems like.
And how that sharing and cost, if it is site improvements or facade improvements, how that cost is broken down between the tenant and the landlord, not up to us.
That's for them to figure out between their lease agreements and all their stuff. We just know that you want to make these improvements because you're the tenant and you would like a better space, and that the owner has signed off.
Great.
Sounds great. You guys figure out the rest.
One thing, does the village have the vision that you shared about, hopefully, nightlife? Or, is there a vision for the St. Charles
The
corridor?
St. Charles corridor has always been created as the how do we get back to the old USA Main Street, where you have the multiple front-facing parking on the street, able to get out of your car, walk from one place to the next place to the next place, and have an entire evening without having to get back into your car. It's all in the one place. That's the idea. As
And,
broad as I can say.
and I remember I had asked
Main
you.
Street, Villa Park.
Yeah,
And
but
I remember I had asked you kind of a thing about, you said, we're not going out seeking for TIF. Or for this with TIF. We're not going out to find businesses that would want to maybe come in and buy a vacant something in order to meet this goal. I think you said no,
say it.
or I had a similar question about
I think
going
he's
out and
seeking
advertising.
businesses.
Hey, bring these businesses in, TIF is here. I think you said no.
Yeah, there isn't some sort of blanket marketing that we can do unless you're at like the Bedford Park or Schaumburg or who's doing it right now?
Bolingbrook just did.
Who did it?
Bolingbrook's doing it
Okay,
right now.
so yeah, they're going after 2-acre sized industrial
Right.
park. That's not.
They have a
the
lot more real estate.
That's not the same beast. They're
But
looking out
still.
for
Green.
massive property tax users.
Okay.
Huge employers. It's not the same level. When you're advertising during a Cubs game, you're at a different level than Villa Park, St. Charles corridor. That's
Okay.
what I was referring to. We're not doing that. Yeah, we're not putting out commercial ads or radios.
I mean, one thing we are
Yeah.
lacking is like boutiques and shops that
Mhm.
people can like
Oh, we
stop
love
and
thrift
you know,
store,
like,
thrift
thrift-
store.
Yeah.
A candy store.
So the idea is that, hey, property owners who own these things that are underutilized, here's a couple of bucks to help you get over that hump to then have a nice place for rent.
Right.
So you can do the facade improvement and the site without knowing who your tenant is.
Mm-hmm.
And then so now it looks prettier. Now maybe you can even get a buck or two more a foot, and someone actually wants to rent it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, second guy comes back a year later and says, "I want my tenant improvement." Excellent, it worked.
Oh.
How about that property south of Moore? Is that it used
South of Moore.
to be it's right across
Cherokee?
the street. It used to be a bird.
Oh,
South of Moore is owned by Deb DeMito. So we are in active conversations with her regarding.
Oh,
that
did she
site.
buy that one? Okay.
Yes, yes, she did.
And the peanut people of the where they had the bank was torn down on by Tobacco Hut.
Pacific Nut.
Yeah, Pacific Nut.
Yes,
Is it so hard to get a hold of them?
Yeah, that's
have
the-
they ever?
they've
Okay.
never responded to
Okay.
anything I've sent them.
I think they sold.
Okay, we're gonna have to check into ownership at that now.
It just recently happened,
Okay.
Wow.
I think.
Yeah, we'll check into that.
That's what the fire, Jerry told me. I think there was a new owner.
Really?
Yeah, because Pacific Nut Company won't do anything. It's
No.
pretty much their tax write-off.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sight unseen acquisition.
Hmm.
But I think that Jerry did tell me that he met with new owners over there, or else they are in the process of it.
We'll
Nice.
check into that, because yeah, if we can get someone that's
To do something.
actually willing to do something, that might be the best
That.
thing, yes.
Well, there's supposed to be a restaurant going in there now, but he's taken forever.
Yeah, that,
months
I
not doing
signed
nothing.
that a year, 6 months ago, yeah.
Yeah, he's still not doing anything because I got a CO and it's like,
Yeah.
every other month, are you doing anything? Yeah, I'm still working on it. And he has not even done any improvements yet, so
Yeah.
he might be one to contact.
If he's running short on dollars, yeah.
The other business that comes to mind is we're here on the corner, Jewel. There's 2 empty spaces in
That's
that
right. Yep.
Yeah.
large building on
Uh-huh.
each end. And, also it's just the lack of landscaping along St. Charles with the parking lot.
Yeah.
That parking lot is really excessive.
Well, you get the long weeds on the sidewalk.
And that too.
No,
I picked
That
those.
parking lot is
Do
really
you?
excessive
Yeah,
for the
that's
size of the
good.
store and things. There's a lot that could be probably
Great
done
point.
with that.
To make it look better.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
So-
and
Oh,
then, so the
yes.
guy who's sitting there playing music can have a seat.
with the accordion.
Maybe.
So,
Oh.
that is absolutely one of the things that Michelle and I were looking at, is if you can actually create an outlot in the Jewel parking lot up against St. Charles between the 2 buildings.
Mhm.
So if you're on St. Charles and you meet the same design models and bulk standards where the building is set 5 feet off of the sidewalk, so the style we all want from the buildings that were built 100 years ago, but new, and parking is in the rear or side between the Jewel, you've now created a new taxable property that had never existed before. Yes, and there is approximately 0 landscape islands within the Jewel parking lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yes, all of the combination of all those things could change the entire intersection.
Oh my god.
Right here, 100%.
Totally.
So-
It's kind of right next to the VFW. You can make that whole
Exactly, yeah.
place look
all
a
messy.
Correct.
lot,
Yeah.
much
So,
prettier.
Correct.
With that corner,
Yeah.
this would be something that
Mm-hmm.
I think could be a vision for that corner.
Oh,
Since there's already a grocery store there,
Mm-hmm.
businesses that drive or are related to food.
Mm.
Even though I know delivery and carryout isn't included, it's an ineligible business. But if we had some type of a destination where there was delivery and carry-out businesses there in addition to the grocery store that makes that kind of a food destination.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
So
One of the things I really missed from where I used to live, there was this was a grocery store with kind of a grill in it, but they always had this dinner for two, and you walked in and it was dinner for two people for $15. You just grabbed it.
chef's choice, just whatever it was.
Yeah, whatever. No, well, it was they changed it every day.
Okay, yeah.
But it was like, yeah, dinner's served. We don't have something like that that's really.
We don't even have coffee there. I mean, just coffee even over
Yeah.
there would be a good thing.
But even the
Nothing.
grill at Whole Foods now is closed.
Oh, it is?
And, yeah.
The what you said?
The grill at Whole
Whole
Foods
Foods.
is
Because it was-
Oh, did they?
So there isn't really something that's really quick
Yeah.
and easy.
So if that scenario had dine-in and the carry-out, it would qualify.
Yes.
Okay.
It's if it was the carry-out only.
Uh-huh.
Drive-through only doesn't qualify.
Okay.
So yeah,
If they have some tables.
yeah, they.
Yeah, is there
They
a
do-
limit on the tables?
Yeah.
Like,
It's what's reasonable, right? You know, if it's one because you're just
he puts like
waiting.
It's a
one
tiny
table.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If it's a small space, you can only fit two
Right.
or three.
Like, you have a lot of things, like, I mean, like, I go to a place called Honest Cafe, which is like associated with Patel, and they have like chat and stuff like that. They have a few tables, it's not, but a lot of their stuff is carry out. They're a chain, they're everywhere. So things like, anything similar to that
Yes.
would be,
Yeah.
like, where, basically they have a lot of these, like,
Yeah,
carry out options.
like
A
roti
variety of things.
Mediterranean.
Yeah.
There are a few little tables,
Roti,
maybe
yeah.
you sit.
Roti's one of those. There's quite a few of those. I mean,
Love those here.
yeah.
They're just. I
We
love
need
the
something
food.
over here of some sort that's a little more quick. And but also, like, I like the deli that's come in. That's really good. That's like we need more of that.
We do.
But you also have potentially increased foot traffic from the train station to the
Exactly.
new development on Villa as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
People walking home
Yes.
from the train.
Pick up dinner on the way, bring it home.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, train station, new development, people walking back from the new community center. Like they go running, come back, they want to pick something before they go home. All of that's gonna happen.
Wonderful.
Like,
Wonderful.
yeah.
Did the
I'd use it a lot. I'm a hunter and gatherer.
Me too. I'd be ready to go.
I see you half the time at the Jewel. I think.
I'm hunting and gathering.
Yeah. If you want to run into Larry, he's at the Jewel.
It's true.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Did
Because I never grocery shop. I just hunt and gather. And that's one of the things with that Jewel I wish it had was a large takeout section. Prepared foods and things like that.
Yeah, it's kind of a very small
It's very.
thing.
It's,
No, and it's the old Jewel model.
It's the
Yeah.
old-
Yeah,
Yes.
it's really,
It is the old
that
model.
Jewel is probably the old, but it's crowded. I don't
It's-
see why they don't update it.
It's the smallest.
Do they own the building?
It's in a REIT.
Okay.
Are there any plans of, or is that just?
Well, I think we all need to see what shakes out with the Albertson.
No.
Yeah.
I don't want to get too crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
What? The
yeah.
what? I wasn't hearing.
What Jewel
They're
got
not
bought
doing
out.
Well,
great.
it's national news. The
No,
Kroger. Oh, you weren't.
oh, Kroger.
Kroger and Albertson's
Kroger
merger
was-
that's going through the courts now to confirm that they can actually do it.
Not too big.
It didn't seem like it was gonna happen though.
I think it's going
You
to
think it
happen,
will?
but obviously.
That's why they're unloading.
Because once they do it, they were talking about closing a good amount of stores.
There's already a list that's circulated,
Yeah.
and
Oh, no.
then all of the Piggly Wiggly gets spun off
Oh,
to
Someone else.
Butera
Yeah.
Oh.
or something along those lines.
What?
There's a whole because that's
They've
their
got too
argument is
many.
that we're not actually taking this one. We're buying it and simultaneously we're
Yeah,
getting
'cause I've seen-
Mariano's.
They don't
Yeah,
want to.
Mariano's
Right.
is going to Butera / Piggly
Oh, it's
Wiggly.
going to Butera.
Yeah, so we're not taking it, we're buying it, and then instantaneously, same closing,
So-
giving it to those guys. Yeah,
Yikes.
I like Mariano's.
I do too.
Yeah.
Why would they sell that one?
so that it can buy all the jewels and
Yeah.
Albertsons.
And this is what Sears did, and they
It's
went
strategic.
down. It wasn't strategic. It was a failure.
Well, Sears, yeah.
Yes,
That's what Sears
was a
did.
big failure.
That was Sears' biggest failure, that kind of messy mess. Because they bought Land's End and they spun off, they wanted to spin off everything. That's why they bought it. And it was a mess. They went down under.
So you-
Kmart also, they bought Kmart, right? Kmart
Yeah,
bought them.
Oh, seriously, yeah.
Yeah, so that was a mess. That's
Do you
not
envision
good.
Kroger being there? I forget who's buying who, but do you envision Jewel?
Well, it's called a merger.
Well,
But I believe it is. I believe it is Kroger who will be the winner at the end of it.
The major short shareholder.
But I mean, would you get rid of the Jewel name in Chicago?
I wouldn't think so.
I wouldn't think so either. So,
If they change it,
you know what I'm
they would
saying?
leave it.
I
Yeah.
like Kroger. I grew
Yeah.
up with Kroger.
I like
Yeah.
Kroger.
But I think there's gonna be a very defined line in Illinois, also known as Chicagoland, where you will not find a Kroger and you will only find a Jewel.
You're right. Right.
All
Jules,
Kroger brand.
exactly.
Jules.
All Kroger brand
Jules.
at Mariana's now. So.
Yeah. So, but again, it's way beyond my pay grade. These are my just reading the Forbes articles.
I used to go pick up the dinner at the corner.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So that I'm on board with.
Mariano's has dinner at the
They
corner.
do.
They do have
Yeah,
that.
they
Yeah, they have
have,
something
yeah.
like that.
So does Whole
Yeah.
Foods now.
So maybe it'll happen automatically.
Has the wine bar over on Cornell in St. Charles, are they utilizing any of the?
No, they have not applied for any tip dollars. They are eligible for all three. They're eligible for all three, but they have not applied for anything yet. They had started before the for the TIF improvement programs got created, but they would still end up qualifying because they're not completed yet.
So if it's completed, it would have been
Yeah,
too late.
yeah. Once you're
So-
done, you're done.
Gotcha.
But we're still active, and so they're still doing stuff, so we could work with them.
Yeah.
Would it be appropriate and/or advantageous to go and go to businesses and say, "Hey, are you thinking about the TIF thing?"
Well, that's what we're talking about right now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That we
Is
would
there
actually-
anyone that you're thinking that we can give a holler to and say, hey, we've got this program, here's the application. Staff's already got a couple in our head that we think are great candidates. We wanted to hear from you guys before and combine all of our lists together and then, shoot out a couple emails.
Any word on what Moore is planning on doing with the old Pioneer building?
I've been trying to get
Oh,
a
that's
meeting
right.
with them
Oh.
all summer.
We don't know that it's for sure more.
We actually, technically, Michelle is also correct.
What?
We don't know that that's for sure owned by Moore. It's a different ownership.
So
Mhm.
everything
I heard
is
that as
hearsay.
well, yeah.
Huh.
That is correct. Uh-huh.
Man.
LLCs.
Well, this is exciting. There's some movement here.
There is,
Yay, man.
absolutely. Absolutely,
Wow, great.
absolutely.
Yeah, my hearsay was that supposedly my friend talked to the gentleman that bought it. So it was supposedly a sole person, but it wasn't the Moore grouping. But
Yeah, it's a different name, so
yeah,
we can't say.
right.
Yeah, and they were out of the country for the majority of the summer, so I was unable to get a meeting with them. Similar to you, out of the country majority of the summer.
I was not. I was out of the town
Yeah.
majority of summer.
So I've
But
been
not
trying
out
to
of
get
the
a
country.
meeting on
I
the
was
books.
only gone for 2 weeks out of the country.
So we're trying
I
to.
live large, you know. I
I am actively trying to get a meeting with them to talk about future plans and get some of their timing. But they're very elusive. They opened their third brewery this year. They're
Wow.
very, very busy. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's somewhere Aurora or something, right? They're moved.
The third one is Bartlett.
Bartlett,
Yeah.
yeah. It's
Oh, nice.
far out
It's
somewhere.
very far, all far away from here.
Well, the farthest one from here is Huntley,
Huntley.
Yeah, which
which
is
is
like,
also the largest one they have.
yeah.
Well,
They bought a former car dealership with the
I think that
big
was-
garage
yeah.
doors, huge building.
Mostly to
Fantastic.
increase their distribution, I would assume.
Yeah.
Because
It is their,
it's
their-
kind of in a weird location.
yeah, it's their production brewery.
did
Yeah.
they start here in Willowbrook?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
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 Great.
This is OG.
Nice.
Mhm.
Are you are we creating a list now, or do you already have a list that we're improving on of facade and tenant improvement?
That's what we're doing right now.
Okay, so
Yeah.
there's no other list that exists.
I mean, it's in our head.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
We've
you.
discussed some.
Yeah, we've discussed. Wouldn't it be great? We should reach out to them.
We ran
And
some, as we were formulating.
Actually, yeah. Go ahead. Talk about that.
as we were formulating these, there's a grading scale, and to qualify, you have to receive 50% of the points. Yeah,
Okay.
within each of the grant programs. They're all slightly different based on each of them being slightly different in what they're funding. So we picked some projects throughout the different TIF districts and ran. Okay, so this tenant's going to be, or this tenant space is going to be a XYZ business. Would they qualify? And ran for both the facade, tenant, and site improvements
Oh, wow.
to see if different businesses would qualify.
Interesting.
That's how we kind of settled on our grading scale too.
That's great.
Because everything fails, well, that's not good. But if
Right.
everything passes, that's,
That's
also
also
not good.
So
So,
things that were like,
Yeah.
this isn't bad,
right.
and if it failed, that wasn't a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
So there were some that were that case.
Yeah. So it's competitive, but not against other people. It is competitive amongst yourself, right?
Your location, your
Right.
proposal.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, if you just put in a brand new window, we shouldn't pay for your facade at that
Right.
point,
Right,
right?
exactly.
Like, it
That's
doesn't make
exactly
sense.
right.
Like,
And we also worked at that, everything's transparent, it's open. Sorry, you're off by 3 points. Wow, so you're telling me if I add and make one more change, I can qualify? Yes, so now we've.
Great.
Nice.
That's
good.
Right. Right.
Excellent.
So,
Mm-hmm.
Mark, the target in that area is no longer in the TIF, is that right?
That is correct,
Okay. So that one's been closed out.
yes. But the adjacent properties to the east are in the TIF. The line just happens to be on Chatham there.
Okay.
And up around it. Yep.
So it goes that way.
Mm-hmm. That was, target was TIF 1.
Mm-hmm.
that was a good TIF.
Single purpose, it did its job.
Yeah.
Bring in target.
Thank you.
Walmart was a good TIF. Wasn't a TIF though, right?
No, that was a business district.
It's true, yeah.
All right. Any more discussion on any of these? Anyone have any other businesses they want to talk about or areas?
I'll think of some after we leave.
And honestly,
You can always send
always
it.
email us.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sweet.
While you're driving around, just look.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like,
Cool.
turn this way, that,
Address,
oh, that doesn't
business
look
name,
so great,
Okay.
you know?
whatever.
That
Keep
ice
this in
cream store
front,
could
keep
look
this in the
better.
drawer.
Yeah, where am I? TIF district? No TIF district.
All right.
All right. We're going to move on to public comments. Anyone from the public here? Doesn't look like it this evening. All right. Commissioner comments.
That would be me, and I comment.
No.
No,
That
commission,
first.
oh, commissioners. Sorry, Village Liaison.
Patrice, you want to start?
Well, I feel very encouraged by this meeting. I do see improvement over the last few years. It's just an exciting time. So I'll keep my eyeballs open with my TIF map in my car. Thank you.
Ethan?
Yeah, same. Yeah, it's exciting. I know I missed out these last couple. I was telling Larry in the elevator that we had a lot of layoffs at my jobs. So we've been going through like a couple of phases, and I work HR, so I'm dealing with all of that that side of things. So it's been a little busy on my Wednesdays, but I should be good now to hop in. So I'm glad to be back.
Excellent.
Yep.
Yeah, I have no comments. I'm really excited to, help out and try to find some more properties too, and, help out in any way I can, so.
I don't have anything else either. Village Board Liaison comments?
Just a couple. I'm very happy to see all of this come to fruition, certainly. And just keep in mind that we're looking to vote on more things. Reach out and try to find out if businesses need these facades, need various improvements, and keep, the board in hand if if something jumps up.
Staff liaison comments?
We are continuing to make some updates into the zoning code, which doesn't actually come to you guys, but some of those things are making it for more user-friendly, more business-friendly, more developer-friendly to actually streamline. It's one of the words I've been using for the last 2 years. How do we streamline this code? How do we get it so it's understandable for the guy who just wants to open a business? He's not represented by attorney, he just has a crazy idea, has a couple bucks and wants to try it. So we're trying to adjust our code, and we've been doing this for the last 2 years with an ordinance update, and an ordinance update, and another ordinance update after
Good,
that.
excellent.
So we're continuing to do that. We've
Love
got 2 or 3 more before the end of this year to do, because we're insane. But more things are coming down the line, and you're gonna continue seeing us to make necessary improvements into the code to make it more better.
More better.
Phrase.
We're
More better.
insanely happy that you're doing that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep, see, that's all.
All right. Is there a motion for adjournment?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Everyone in favor? Say aye.
Hi.
All right, we are adjourned.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.